I filmed in a lot of weird places before, and in front of my front door is not the weirdest. But I will say, not super cute. If you guys are into this, I think I'll take down my posters from my wall and I'll put them on the door, just for like the aesthetic. So do let me know in the comments. Hi, I'm coming to you November 10th, far later than normal, for my October reading wrap-up. Today I wanted to tell you about the books that I read in the month of October. That comes to a total of 8 books, which is pretty on par for what I've been doing this year. First off, I read The Weary Blues by Langston Hughes. Oh, that rhymed. Would you have guessed it? Incredibly melodic, just beautiful. So atmospheric. It really made me feel like I was like sitting in a jazz club and I knew everyone there like intimately, or like I was walking down the streets of Harlem, or I was on like a ship and I didn't know when I was gonna be home, so I was just like enjoying the ride. Just beautiful. My favorite poem, you know, it wouldn't be one of these videos if I didn't read you a direct selection, was a poem called Caribbean Sunset. My neighbor is outside. Oh my god. God having a hemorrhage, blood coughed across the sky, staining the dark sea red. That is sunset in the Caribbean. Amazing. Next, another poetry collection called Space Struck by Paige Lewis. Just brutally funny, irrevocably sad. One of my favorites from this one, the title like goes in to the poem itself. So the title is "You will be you and I'll be busy," and the poem begins, chewing 5 sticks of juicy fruit, turning my jaw into a clicking, pain-pricked mess, and reaching for another package because hard work is defined by a body's wreckage, and I want you to know that I'm hard at work. So yeah, amazing. Cried multiple times. Next, I read A Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. This is about loving someone and watching them live through pain you know you can do nothing to help with, and just puberty, self-discovery, coming of age, his experience with a religion. A must read. So good. I don't think I've ever actually read anything by James Baldwin before, so this was very, very good. Next, I read Histoire de la langue de française by Jacques Charond. Reading this made me so emotional. This is the first book I've ever read that was totally in French, like sous le manteau français. And reading it was a genuinely emotional experience for me. I would say I understood probably 80% of it. And since it was like a college level text, I was pretty pleased with that. And when I was reading it, sometimes it felt like English in my head. Like, for me, my mark of fluency is when I'm no longer having to translate as I'm reading and it just is happening. And that happened a lot for me with the French in this book, which was so cool. It was such a rewarding experience to see that all of my work really has paid off. And I'm definitely going to start integrating reading into my language learning more, just because of how incredible an experience this was. Next, I read So You've Been Publicly Shanked by John Ronson. This was super interesting. A look at cancel culture, and it feels reductive to say that. It was really about the totality of how we like bury people with no chance for redemption. And I don't want to comment on whether or not people deserve it, because I think to make a unilateral decision on what happens for the rest of someone's life is not my place. And unfortunately, that's a lot of what cancel culture is, so I guess I kind of am making a comment on it. It really dealt with the complexities of it and how do you look at the humanity behind it in a very interesting way, so I highly recommend this, especially if you're someone who really exists on the internet, which if you're here, I assume you do. Next, I read Sybil Exposed, this extraordinary story behind the famous multiple personality case, and this was written by Debbie Nathan. So I read this after watching The 24 Faces of Billy Mulligan, and Billy Mulligan was like a serial rapist on my college campus, Ohio State alumni. So Billy Mulligan, as part of his defense, was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, now known as dissociative identity disorder, and this case, Sybil's case, is the one that really kicked off the mass diagnosis of the disorder. And I did not know, and was not mentioned in the documentary, that the psychiatrist who was helping Sybil was like a fraud and wildly unethical. So if you're interested in like psychiatric history, I think that's what I would class this under. Very cool. Next, I read Profit Over People by Noam Chomsky. Nothing makes it clearer that America is actually not the best country in the world than just the cold hard facts of it. Just, you know, brutal. Absolutely brutal. Every once in a while I get a little too highfalutin for my boots, and I'm like, oh, I've unlearned my like internalized patriotism and nationalism that was like beaten into me by the American public education system. And then I learned something new, and I'm like, oh no, it's still in there. It's like, it's deep, but it's in there. And I had like 100 moments of that while I was reading this. It also gives an excellent global perspective on different financial systems and how governments really do just be interfering all over the place. The United States government, like, don't put me on a list if I'm not already on a list. Y'all be everywhere. And like, for what? For what? And finally, I read A Secret Sisterhood, written in tandem by Emily Madoraquawa and Emma Sweeney. I butchered that, sorry. So this was so cool. A super interesting discussion on female friendship and like the impact that fellow writers can have on each other. So it was a couple sections focused on Jane Austen and Anne Sharp, Charlotte Bronte and Mary Taylor, George Eliot and Harriet Beecher Stowe, and Catherine Mansfield and Virginia Woolf. And little side shoot. We know that contemporary versus historical queerness, we can't compare it, we can't put words in their mouths. But I think that Charlotte Bronte might have been in love with her best friend. I hope y'all are doing real well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope if you are able to, you've been vaccinated. Sorry this video is coming out so late. There's a lot going on in my life, man. And YouTube is very much like the one constant. And every once in a while, I'm sure this is a very common feeling. So I just finished watching Don't Fuck with Cats, which I know I'm like 3 years late to that party, but sometimes I see something and I'm like, I should erase my entire presence from the internet. I don't know, there's this big discussion right now about like parasocial relationships. I also recently watched Inside by Bo Burnham for the first time, and that had me also really thinking about this a lot. I do recommend both of those things, although huge trigger warnings, honestly, for both of them. I did cry during both. You know, the world that we live in is so complex and strange, and like the internet, what an incredible invention that has led to just countless amazing things, just objectively incredible things, and has also led to such like disaster and torment, and like the rewriting of our brains in ways that we don't even know yet. So that's also been on my mind a lot this month. I think, and that also probably played into my YouTube delay. So, but I'm back, baby, and better than ever. I hope y'all are doing real well. Stay safe out there. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon.